Okay, 75 down there, 75 down there, and a bowl that's 150 millimeters in diameter. I happen to have used this a few times for odd things. Seems to be a handy piece of equipment. Right, so now I've got to try and cut that out. So how am I going to do that? Well, these two pieces are easy. That part is a different story. To do that part, you've got to drill holes all the way around it, and then chisel it, or just hope that once you ground the sides off there, that you've drilled enough holes and you can just break it off. More likely I'll have to chisel it. I then go over it with a larger one, which is about 1/4 inch diameter. Wahey! Not bad. What I've done next, come on, get out the way, cat. Busy, move. Right, what I've done next is, as I showed earlier, this is the way I've decided to mount this suspension arm onto this, what I'm going to say is a pipe axle, scaffold pipe. I'm going to finish off the welding here. I've just done some simple quick welds there just to hold it in place last night, and see how the geometry was starting to look. Now this whole setup is a bit of an experiment. I have no idea how these suspension units are going to behave when they're linked onto a solid pipe axle. You can see I've got two of these units mounted in the same positions at the two ends of the pipe. Now what I've done is a technique which I've used when I've been marking out the holes on barrel jackets for Browning 30 cals. If you lie a piece of angle iron onto a round pipe, you can draw a straight line down the edge of it. So by doing that, I was able to draw a line and then know that I was mounting these two units in on the same position. You can mark lines all the way down the full length of a pipe using this system. When I'm doing 30 cal barrels, obviously I need to put something like 8 lines all the way around the circumference of the pipe, and then drill lots of holes, so it's got to be marked out correctly, otherwise the holes aren't going to look right. Anyway, so that's the idea with the angle, how I've used that. Now this pipe setup, let's see if I can position the camera better. This pipe setup is an experiment. Now obviously it's not going to look quite right if I have the load bearing member attached here and going off to the other arm at the other end. Now I'm not going to be able to keep that set at that angle. As soon as I put a pair of wheels on the end of here and support it, what's going to happen is that is going to swing upwards like so. Into that position there, and it's going to hit that mounting point just here. Bang, bang, bang. So that's not really going to work out. So I need to make some decisions about how I'm going to do this. And what I might have to do is cut these flanges off and weld them directly onto the load bearing member, which is going to take the weight of the gun, shield, trails, the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. That's probably going to be how it's going to go. The other option is I can cut some plates to mount that to, right, and have to make the plates a little bit longer than this and fold them up on their ends. Now, depending on what sort of fixing I'm going to, what sort of shape load member I'm going to use, if I'm going to try and make it look like the original one and use round scaffold pipe like that for the load member, or whether I'm going to cheat and use box section. Now, there's good and bad points for both. If I use the round scaffold pipe, it's going to look more like the original setup. But if I use box section, it's going to be easy to weld coupling plates to for here. Now if I use a round pipe, I'll have to make the metal longer, then fold the ends up and have a curved profile cut in them, which I'll then weld to the outer edge of the piping. I suspecting that's the way I'm going to go. The reason being, if I use round pipe, I can mount this on any angle I wish. I'll show you why. Basically, I could set it up like that. So once the weight of the gun is sat on it, and there's wheels on the end here, this attachment point, which is underneath there, is always going to tend to swing to the bottom of the scaffold pipe because the weight is pushing down. So that's automatically going to, well, what's the term? It's going to bias itself down to the base. Obviously, once you start towing the gun, that's a different story. Once you start towing the gun, you've got your wheels set up here, then you're pulling the thing away. So once you start pulling this away, it's going to start to do like that. It's going to pull it more back that way. But you've also got all the weight of the gun pushing down. So it's an interesting problem, but I'm tempted to say the first the first step to go with this is to cut some plates which are rectangular, longer than this, and profile them, bend the ends up and profile them so that they will fit round this rounded pipe. Then I can position those arms that way. Now the other slight problem with all this is I don't know, once the weight goes on this, what position these arms are going to move to, because obviously when the weight goes on, the arms are going to move upwards. Now I could make some sort of test rig with 200 odd kilos of weight to see what position the arm swings to, but I think I'm just going to have to go with the best guess. Now the other reason for going with a round pipe on this and just fixing a round pipe across there is I can use that as a test setup. Then depending on the angle that it finishes off at, then I know what plane to set that in when I build the rest of the gun onto it. Basically, hopefully that makes some sense. I don't know what position this arm is going to finish off at in relation to the axle. It all depends on how much weight is applied on this rubber flexible joint, the suspension joint. So I don't know the angle that's going to sit, whether it's going to be like that flat or whether it's going to be on an angle like so.